I'll be performing the vital sign assessment on my patient. I'll make sure to get 2 patient identifiers, name and date of birth. They respond, matches up with the, usually would be checking the wristband, making sure it matches up with my documentation. Always 2 forms of identification. Make sure the patient's comfortable. Are you comfortable? Are you too cold, too warm?
No, I'm comfortable.
Comfortable. Dressed appropriately. Make sure if I need to make the room any more, privacy, like more friendly for the patient, I could pull the curtain, make sure the door's shut, whatever makes the patient feel more comfortable and safe. So, ideally the patient would be sitting down always. They could be laying in bed, but regardless, you want to make sure that one of the key things is that the arm is at the same level as the heart, because if it's too high or too low, that could change the reading that you get on the blood pressure. Not only that, you want to make sure that their legs are uncrossed. Too many times patients will be laying in bed and they're just comfortable, they don't even realize it, and their legs are crossed, so you can just kindly say, oh, would you mind uncrossing your legs, because it'll actually, and then sometimes they're curious, they might want to know, just explain to them that it could change the reading you're going to get, and it's more accurate if they uncross their legs. So another big thing is to make sure you get the right size blood pressure cuff, because if it's too small or too big, you're not going to get an accurate reading, and you might make your patient angry. So the first thing you're going to do, of course, get the right size blood pressure cuff. You're going to locate the brachial artery by palpating in the appropriate area, which is right here at pretty much the crook of the elbow. You can use the same fingers that you would use to do what I did earlier with the radial pulse. You're going to assess for the brachial artery at the bend of the arm with 3 fingers. So I got a good pulse here, so that's great. You're going to take the proper sized blood pressure cuff. On the manuals, I like hooking it in the loop already, because if you don't, this thing's dangling and it's knocking into all kinds of stuff. A big thing is making sure that the arrows line up 2 inches above the artery itself. I got cats. It's a therapy cat. I got 2 of them actually. All right. Anyway, onward. So the patient's sometimes very helpful. They'll pull the gown arm up for you. They'll make it nice, and you don't want any barriers, ideally. I mean, you can always get a better reading when there's nothing in the way. Same when you're oscillating. So again, you want to line the arrows of the blood pressure cuff up with the artery. You want it, again, 2 inches above the artery itself. And you don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. If you could fit 2 fingers under there comfortably, it's not moving too much. Is that too tight? No. Those are ways to make sure. You don't want to loop it around the patient's arm like I did. Again, another reason to hook this up here is so you can easily see it. Getting set up is key. So next thing we're going to do, you're going to use your 3 fingers. You're going to palpate. You're going to find the brachial artery again. And what we're going to do first, you're going to make sure you tighten your pump so that the air actually expands the cuff so you can get an actual reading. We're going to fill it up until I can't feel her brachial artery anymore. So it went away at about 150. So then we're going to deflate. that's what it felt like to me. And we're doing this because it helps us avoid missing the oscillatory gap. And sometimes this is more important, at least the documentation states this is more important with patients that are hypertensive, that come in with high blood pressure. I have never run into this situation, so. And then you wait 60 seconds after you deflate the cuff completely. Make sure you note that initial systolic pressure that you got, which for me was 150. And you want to fill up 30 milligrams of mercury higher than that. So you want, in this case, to be 180. Before doing that, wouldn't get a good pressure if I didn't use my stethoscope. You can use the bell or the diaphragm. I typically have used the diaphragm, so that's what I'm going to do. You're going to put that over the patient's brachial artery. Make sure you got a good reading, and you're going to fill it up to that mark again, 180. Deflate the cuff at about 2 milligrams of mercury per second until you hear that first beat. So I heard it about 1:15. Now I'm waiting for that last one. Okay. It's about 75. Again, I'm still learning how to perfect this, but so my initial blood pressure reading on her was about 115/75. Next, you want to deflate the cuff, obviously. Patients can't wait to get this off their arm. Want to make sure they're okay. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to then clean your equipment, of course. Make sure your patient is comfortable. Get them back to the position that they were in. Let them know you're reading. Let them know what you found. If they have any questions, just how they're doing overall. You always want to check in with your patient, make sure they're doing okay. Keep them involved in what you're doing. Again, clean your equipment and then document your findings. I'm going to get better at this.